20 seconds.
Okay, so are you going to activities? Staff are prioritizing their efforts to respond to this emergency. In many cases, staff have no power at their own homes or have debris in their yards to clean up, are instead at work on a holiday weekend, making sure their neighbors get the help they need. If you're aware of neighbors with specific needs or with disabilities, please check in on them and offer your help with food or supplies if you can. I want to commend both the city staff and Hydro Ottawa crews for their efforts. I was out in 4 or 5 different parts of the city today in Stittsville and Nepean, South Ottawa, as well as Navan and Cumberland. And I've seen firsthand some of the devastation that is taking place, but I've also seen neighbor helping neighbor. It's been really quite heartwarming to see, particularly in the rural parts of the city where farms were destroyed and livestock were killed. Now, the city has reached out to the province. I spoke to the Premier yesterday to see what additional support we can get from them to help in our recovery. Hydro Ottawa tells me that we already have crews in from New Brunswick helping out. We anticipate some crews from other parts of the province coming tomorrow at the earliest, if possible, and 100 extra contractors from Hydro's list of contractors to help speed up the reconnecting of hydro services for people's homes and businesses. Crews, as you can imagine, are focusing their effort on the hardest hit areas first. I want to assure you that we will get to all areas of the city. We know that every corner of the city has been affected to one degree or another. Unlike the tornado that had a set path and brought a lot of destruction with it, this storm hit every single part of our community in one way or another. So city staff have been working tirelessly to continue serving residents and are taking extra measures to help people dispose of spoiled food. Alain Gauthier will provide more details on this shortly. This is obviously a public health issue, and we want to make sure that we get rid of that spoiled food as quickly as possible. And we have some initiatives that Alain will announce in just a few moments. We'll continue our efforts to clean up debris. Crews will concentrate their efforts on the areas with the most damage, but they will get to all areas of the city eventually. So I ask that you be patient if you don't see them right away. What we did in the tornado, what we'll do now is if you bring the branches and the tree parts and so on to the end of your driveway, the city will eventually go and pick that up. It's going to take, as you can imagine, several weeks. It may look like a bit of an eyesore, but the city will help you in any way we can to get that those trees and branches and so on hauled away. Also, I believe someone else might mention this, but the tipping fee for Trail Road has been waived, which allows people to bring in debris from roofs and so on, and that will save you a few dollars. I continue to be impressed with the way our residents pull together at times of crisis. I've seen many instances, as I mentioned, of residents reaching out to their neighbors, whether it's helping clean up down branches and other debris or offering a hot coffee, a bite to eat, or a place to plug in their phones. I know Councillor Aiglin and I met some neighbors who were helping a senior citizen who was living alone in his home, helping them with blankets and some food. I know our firefighters in the rural areas are going door to door to do wellness checks. We're also going to be deploying more of our firefighters, the volunteer firefighters, to help out with cleanup and tree and brush debris as well. So our residents continue to shine the brightest when conditions seem the darkest. Please continue to look out for one another. You can provide a much needed helping hand by checking in with your neighbors, friends, and family, especially those who are vulnerable. If you need a place to go to charge your devices or take a shower, facilities are available at the following sites, and I had an opportunity to visit a couple of those sites with Councillor Kitts and Councillor Brockington. They're set up at the Cardell Rec Center. I met with Councillor Gower there yesterday, the Francois Dupuis Rec Center in the East End, Howard Darwin Centennial Arena, which is on Maryvale Road, Hunt Club Riverside Park Community Center, which I had the opportunity of touring with Councillor Brockington. It's a real beehive of activity. The Salvation Army was there serving lunches. They'll be back serving dinners. The Richmond Arena, the Duluth Arena, Bernard Grandmaitre Arena, and dans le secteur de Vanier. Navin Memorial Center, I was out there with Councillor Kitts, and the Walter Baker Sports Center. And I've just heard that city staff is working with local hospitals to offer oxygen distribution for existing clients at Francois Dupuis in the East End and Maryvale location from 3 p.m. today. More information will be available through the local hospitals. Now, if you were affected by the storm and need help, you can apply for financial assistance through the City of Ottawa. This includes money for food replacement and in exceptional circumstances, help with medication, medical supplies, or personal care. You'll be able to fill out an application form and apply online or by calling 311. Alors, certainement, le numéro de téléphone 311 pour aider avec nourriture et des autres dépenses comme ça. I continue to see people not following the rules when they come to traffic lights that are out, and there are, I believe, the latest number I had was 3 dozen 3 dozen road closures that are still out there because of wires down, but there are dozens and dozens of traffic lights that are not operational and they have to be treated as a four-way stop. So I encourage everyone, if you can, stay at home to work. If you have power, obviously that is a more realistic option. If you don't have power, then obviously that's not an option. But I know the federal government is encouraging their employees to stay at home, and we're doing the same for our employees. And my understanding is the English School Board has announced that classes will be canceled tomorrow, and they'll review the situation at that time. So for everyone else, it'd be a huge help if you are able to stay at home and stay out of the way of those essential workers while they get their job done. Alors certainement, c'est un temps très difficile pour nos résidents et aussi le personnel de la Ville d'Ottawa. Et je dis merci beaucoup à les personnels de Hydro-Ottawa, les pompiers, les polices, les paramédics, les travaux publics, les personnes qui sont responsables pour les règlements de la Ville d'Ottawa. Nous sommes ici pour aider la population. And finally, I want to thank our members of council who have been on the ground working literally long hours over the course of the last 48 hours to get help to those people in need and to make sure that our staff know the challenges, unique challenges each part of our city are facing. Alors certainement, un grand merci à tous les membres du conseil municipal pour leur bon travail et leur dévouement. And I'll hand it back to our folks in Public Affairs to carry on the rest of the press conference, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Je suis disponible pour répondre aux questions après les autres présentations. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, and thank you to our sign language interpreters. We very much appreciate you being here on a holiday weekend, called in at the last minute. So thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for your remarks. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Maire. My name is Kina Leclerc, and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Kina Leclerc, et je serai l'animatrice de ce point de presse. We'll be hearing remarks today. We just heard remarks from Mr. Mayor Jim Watson, and we will now be hearing from Alain Gontier, General Manager, Public Works, Directeur Général, Service des Travaux Publics. Go ahead, Alain.
Thanks, Kina. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. First, I want to reiterate the comments made by the mayor, where I really want to thank the residents of Ottawa for their patience and cooperation as the city continues to respond to the damage caused by Saturday's storm, which is really a massive undertaking. I would also like to share my deep gratitude for the professionals in our Public Works Department who are working hard yet again to help our community move forward and also to recover. Je tiens également à exprimer ma profonde gratitude aux professionnels de notre Direction générale des travaux publics qui travaillent avec acharnement, une fois de plus, pour aider notre communauté à surmonter les difficultés et à se rétablir. We know that disposing of waste and spoiled food is top of mind for many who have been without power. In the neighborhoods most affected by the storm, the city will carry out a green bin collection blitz over the next few days to ensure that organic waste is collected as soon as possible. From a priority perspective for residents with storm-related materials, mainly related to food waste in the Knoxville, Maryvale, Stittsville, River Ward, and also in the villages of Cumberland, being Navan, Cumberland, and Sarsfield, We ask that you set out your green bins for collection. The collection will take time, but we will be dropped by to collect your bin. And if your green bin is not collected by day's end tomorrow, we ask that you take it in and put it back at the curb the following morning, and we will be by to pick it up. I would ask that only organic material be disposed of. The non-organic material like food packaging and all that should be disposed of separately. Regular garbage and recycling collection will continue as scheduled. So we encourage residents to use their green bin to dispose of organic waste as much as possible on the regular scheduled collection day. Now, because we are expecting an increased need for disposing of spoiled food, the city is also setting up several sites where residents will have ongoing access to large bins for organic waste. These bins will be ready for use tomorrow. And the bins will be located at, of the 4 bins, 1 at the Navin Memorial Center at 1295 Colonial Road, 1 at the fire station at 1643 Stittsville Main Street, a bin at the Hunt Club Riverside Park Community Center at 3320 Paul Anka Drive, and a 4th bin at the Howard Darwin Centennial Arena at 765 Maryville Road. We are also in the process of securing additional bins that will be ready during the day tomorrow at the Walter Baker and Minto Recreation Complex. I also want to note that the city's landfill at Trailwheel facility is also offering extended hours to accommodate special collections, and we will be waiving tipping fees for residents with storm-related damage. Now, we do appreciate your ongoing patience as our teams pick up tree branches and yard waste. It's going to take us weeks before the cleanup is finished, but all hands are on deck in terms of trying to get this completed as soon as possible. Our public works teams is prioritizing clearing roads, emergency routes, and down trees. A major focus is to help remove trees from hydro lines so that power may be restored to residents. And I can assure you that crews will return to affected areas in the coming days to remove tree cuttings and debris from the side of the road. This will be a multi-day and a multi-week operation, but we will be there to collect all of the debris that's left to the side of the road. If debris is small enough, please bring it to the curb as part of your collection process. For larger cuttings that have not been picked up from your property, please submit a service request if you haven't already done so. Otherwise, they will be picked up in the coming weeks. Please also be mindful of what you are putting at the curb and where. Sidewalks and roadways must be kept clear at all times. Now, if you're not sure of an item where it should be placed at the curb, I encourage you to use the Waste Explorer or check the waste collection app on ottawa.ca. I would also like to reiterate the mayor's message in regards to staying home if possible. The safety of our residents is of the highest priority. J'aimerais également réitérer le message du maire concernant la nécessité de rester chez soi si possible. La sécurité des résidents est notre priorité absolue. Our traffic and roads crews are still in the process of repairing signs, light posts, traffic signals, many of which have been damaged or are still without power. Following the storm, several hundred traffic signals were not functioning in the city. Since then, over 30 intersections have been restored, and many more are being worked on as we speak. If you need to drive, we remind residents to treat a controlled intersection without power as a four-way stop, and please, that is critically important in terms of the safety of our community. Traffic management and first responders continue to monitor roadways that were impacted by fallen hydro poles, trees, and down wires. As roads begin to reopen, residents can visit ottawa.ca or listen or read to local news for updated information. Even as the power and lights begin to turn on, our recovery efforts will continue over the coming days and even weeks, ensuring our community has access to the critical services that they need. Même si le courant et la lumière commencent à se réallumer, nos efforts de rétablissement se poursuivront au cours des prochains jours et même dans les prochaines semaines afin que notre communauté ait accès aux services essentiels dont elles ont besoin. Un grand merci, a big thank you.
Thank you very much, Alain. I will now like to invite Kim Ayotte, General Manager of Emergency and Protective Services, to say a few words. J'invite maintenant Kim Ayotte, Directeur Général des Services de Protection et d'Urgence, à dire quelques mots. Go ahead, Kim.
Merci, Kina. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. I'd like to thank everyone in our community for continuing to help each other in this time of crisis. Staff from our emergency services are working hard to help those in need, especially those who need it most. Ottawa Fire Service are currently visiting retirement homes and providing support to residents, including administering oxygen when necessary. Our paramedic services is also responding and helping those in need. Bylaw services staff will be conducting wellness visits and starting to check for building code issues, including where fences may have blown down around pools. All of our city reception centers that were open today will continue to be open, fully open tomorrow for the same time frame, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We've also contacted the province, and we've been advised that we put in a request from the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines and Natural Resources and Forestry. They have crews specialized in helping to clear tree debris, and we're hoping that they'll be able to help us as well. Ottawa Fire Service will also be helping, as they have specialized equipment and resources with regards to tree removal, so they'll be helping our roads department and public works in helping on that front. To support residents on well water who've lost access to drinking water, bottled water is available at the following locations, along with access to fill containers with potable water. The W. Erskine Johnson Arena at 3832 Clark Road, Howard Darwin Centennial Arena at 1765 Marivelle Road, and the Navin Memorial Center at 1295 Colonial Road. As the mayor mentioned, if you have neighbors who need assistance, please check on them. City services will be impacted as a result of this storm as we reallocate our resources. More information about impacted services will be shared soon. If you have battery operated or crank radio that you can tune into your local news to stay informed, please do so. If you have power and internet service, follow the city's social media channels for the latest information, as well as your local media outlets. For those who are able, you can visit the city's reception centers to charge your devices so that you can keep up to date. Please stay off the roads if you don't have to go out. Thank you for understanding and for your patience. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde pour votre patience.
Thank you very much, Kim. Finally, I would like to invite Joseph Muglia, Director of System Operations and Grid Automation from Hydro Ottawa, to say a few words. Finalement, j'invite maintenant Joseph Muglia, Directeur Exploitation des Systèmes et Automatisation de Réseau, à dire quelques mots. Joseph, go ahead.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. At this time, I can confirm that Hydro Ottawa has restored power to more than 70,000 customers throughout the city. There are an estimated 110,000 customers still without power. Our efforts to restore power have been nonstop since the storm surged through the Ottawa region late Saturday afternoon. All available Hydro Ottawa employees and external contractors have been called in and are working around the clock for the residents of Ottawa. Reinforcement crews from our contractors and utility partners from as far away as the GTA, Kingston, and New Brunswick are here to help us restore power as we speak. I'd like to thank all of them for their support in our time of need. Today has been and will continue to be a big construction day as our crews work to restore as many customers as possible. Large-scale power outages are being restored first, followed by smaller ones, keeping safety as the #1 priority, of course. The situation is complex with extensive damage to infrastructure across the city, to both the provincial transmission system, our Hydro One supplier, and our local distribution system that belongs to us at Hydro Ottawa. Given the high winds, fallen trees, and significant damage to our infrastructure and equipment, this is a whole of city event. I'd like to be clear that this storm, however brief, was very destructive. The impact to our operations is worse than the ice storm of '98 and the tornadoes of 2018. In many cases, the restoration efforts will be lengthy as crews deal with downed trees, 163 currently broken poles, and other obstacles on a house-by-house basis across the city. The level of damage really cannot be underestimated. This continues to be a multi-day operation to get all of our customers restored. And And that is what we are focused on doing as quickly and safely as possible. After critical institutions and emergency services such as our hospitals and water treatment plants, our focus has been to prioritize power outages that affect large neighborhoods with the largest number of customers. I'm happy to report that of 6:30 p.m. last evening, the Queensway Carleton Hospital, the Royal Hospital, Pearlie and Rideau Veterans Health Center, which came on today, and Ropec Water Treatment Plant and the Ottawa Airport have power and are no longer reliant on generators. Hydro Ottawa is now focusing on assisting other area hospitals such as the Queensway Carleton's remote site in Canada, as well as other critical institutions. To our customers, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your support and thank you for your patience as we continue to do our work. You are definitely our priority. We'd also like to thank our first responders and essential workers who are ensuring public safety while working throughout the night and over the coming days. If you see our crews working, please keep a safe distance away from them and respect the perimeters in the place at our work sites so they can focus on the ever-present dangers of their job. Also, if you noticed a down power line, stay at least 10 meters away, the length of approximately a school bus, and please contact us. We'll be working 24/7 until all the power is restored. In the meantime, please stay safe. Thank you.
If I could just mention, my colleague Matt Luloff, the chair of the library board, has notified me that the following library branches will be open tomorrow. Great respite for families and children. It'll be at the Beaverbrook, Cumberland, Greenboro, Main Branch, Center Point, and Ruthie Dickinson in Barrhaven. So once again, those library branches will be open tomorrow: Beaverbrook, Cumberland, Greenboro, Main, Center Point, and Ruthie Dickinson in Barrhaven. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Joseph as well. Before I go to questions from the media, I understand Alain Gontier has a point of clarification. Avant d'aller aux questions des médias, Alain Gontier a un petit point d'éclaircissement à faire.
Yes, thanks, Tina. Yes, I just wanted to make a clarification on one of the bin location that was mentioned for Stittsville. So I indicated that it was at 1643 Stittsville Main Street. In fact, the bin has been installed at a different location at the Carleton Recreation Complex at 1500 Shea Road in Stittsville. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alain. So I'll now go to questions from the media. I will invite each agency to ask their question. You may ask one question with one follow-up. J'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. We will now go to Trevor Pritchard at CBC Ottawa.
Hi, all. Thanks for taking the call and providing us with all this information. My first question is for people who have medical devices that require power, like ventilators, oxygen, that sort of thing. What's being done to help them, and what do you suggest if they can't get access to power?
Kim,
So I know that what we're doing within Hydro Ottawa, we do have a program where we have some facilities available to help out to provide some temporary power. We're working with some of the facilities within the city to provide that power where possible. But other than that, I mean, your respite centers would probably be the best if possible. Go there, charge up. That's probably, the extent of what I can think of just off the top of my head. But I know that we are working with paramedics and we're looking at the possibility of helping out that way.
Perhaps I could also add that, if it's an emergency, please call 911. We don't want people thinking that we're not responding. Our paramedic service is responding full force. We have seen an increase in calls, but we can still manage this. I'll also ask paramedic Chief Pierre Poirier to make a comment on that.
Yeah, thanks for that. And yes, there's been a lot of discussion regarding this issue. So over Saturday night, we responded to a number of requests for service where we were both providing care, but also exchanging oxygen tanks in support of those individuals. Subsequent to that, we've been in discussion with air providers or oxygen providers and other city services to provide a more coherent plan, which also included Hydro Ottawa, which has been able to provide some battery packs for those oxygen delivery systems that required electricity. So currently, the providers of air supplies have been very much engaged and are working with several different retirement homes and individuals to ensure that they have appropriate oxygen. And to reiterate General Manager Ayot's comment is that anytime that it is a life-threatening situation, please call 911 and the paramedics will absolutely be there to provide that service. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. And
Trevor,
just as a
if I could, Trevor,
sorry.
sorry, I'd just also like to add that our EOC has been working to coordinate support with our partners for exactly this. We've been working with our hospitals and our community social services partners to help provide additional assistance for these types of situations. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. I'll go to my follow-up unless there's anything else. We saw earlier the letter about how it, this is worse than the ice storm, worse than the tornadoes in terms of the power outages. I was just wondering if somebody could possibly drill down a bit, like what specifically, maybe climatologically is makes this so much worse. I understand that the tornadoes tore a specific path, but what specifically, why is this so much worse than those two incidents?
So I wrote the memo. I can answer the question. It's Bryce Conrad, President and CEO, Hydro Ottawa. So the 98 ice storm, well, we all have horrible nightmares, and remembering it was largely a rural Eastern Ontario. The city itself was not spared, but it was relatively untouched. This, as the mayor said at the outset, there's not a single square inch of our service territory that has not been impacted adversely by this event. So everybody is impacted. Every part of the city has been impacted. With respect to the tornadoes in 2018, as you recall, it took out the Maryvale station. There was pole damage down Maryvale and Woodruff, but at the time, Barrhaven was completely black. But we knew that Barrhaven, as soon as we had power return, the supply came back from the provincial grid, we knew that Barrhaven would light up. In this instance, we have full supply from the provincial grid. It's just our own service territory, our own distribution system has been crushed. We quoted 187 poles down. 187 poles down is more than we suffered in the ice storm. It's more than we suffered in the tornado. Collectively, it's more poles than we put down in a year. So this is as bad as it gets.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Moving on, we will go to Ted Raymond at CTV Ottawa.
Hi there. My first question will be to Hydro Ottawa, just with regards to your damage assessment. I understood you did most of that yesterday. If you've got a picture exactly of what you're dealing with now, can you give us an estimate or an idea of how much longer you think this is going to take? You're saying multi-day. Are we talking end of week? Are we expecting longer than that?
So we're continuing to do damage assessment. As we reel out and pull up trees, we find more damage. So the damage assessment is something that will be done continuously. We are predicting or forecasting a 2 to 4 day outage from now. So yes, the latter part of this week, hopefully we'll have the vast majority of the service territory restored. There will be pockets, there will be isolated areas where homes are damaged beyond beyond a point where we want to energize them. And the other point I would make is simply, again, given the amount of tree damage and damage to our distribution system, even when we have confidence that a feeder is ready to be re-energized, we will re-patrol that line just to make sure there's nothing on it, there's no obstacles. Because if we energize that line and there is something there, someone will die. It could cause fatalities or it could cause fires. And the last thing we want to do is take that risk. So we are being uber cautious. I appreciate that takes more time, but I'd rather take more time than be reckless at this point in time. So 2 to 4 days is what we're predicting with isolated pockets remaining. But we will work around the clock until they're done.
Excellent, thank you. I'm not sure to whom to address this question, but I'm curious if someone from the city can talk a little bit about fuel shortages, gasoline. A number of stations around Ottawa are out. There's a huge demand for it. I'm sure it's impacting city services as well. What is the city doing or can do to sort of help with the fuel situation for people for their cars?
Steve or Kim?
That's an excellent question. I think a lot of the fuel shortage is based on the stations having lost power. So once we get power back up, I think that issue will resolve itself. That being said, we'll certainly take that under advisement from an EOC perspective and see if we can reach out to some of the stations to see if there's any additional assistance that we could provide from the city.
Thank you very much, Kim, and thank you, Ted. Nous allons maintenant passer à Le Droit, Charles-Antoine Gagnon. Êtes-vous sur la ligne?
Oui.
Allez-y.
J'aimerais savoir si, like to know if there's, well, I don't think there's.
Excusez-moi, Charles-Antoine, on vous entend pas trop bien. Si vous voulez parler un peu plus fort, s'il vous plaît.
I see there's no one from the police, but I was wondering if there's any crime that has of opportunity that has been made, like on Saturday night in the areas where there was a power shortage.
Yeah, we do have someone from the police, Paul.
Yeah, it's Paul Burnett here. I can tell you that as soon as we knew that we had lost power in some of those residential communities and commercial areas, we enhanced our police posture in those areas. So we were alive to the fact that there may be an opportunity there, and I think we addressed that with additional police resources patrolling those areas. To date, we haven't noticed a spike in crime per se as a result of lost power.
Thank you.
Aviez-vous une autre question, Charles-Antoine?
Non, ça va aller, merci.
OK, merci. Moving on, we will go to Kelly Egan at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, this is maybe a question for Mr. Ayotte. I'm not sure. I was talking to people at the Howard Darwin Center today, and people were talking about how in a high-rise building, some of the elevators weren't working, and some of the generators that were supposed to support those elevators had failed or were broken. I'm just wondering if the city is getting, I realize this is private property, but are you getting any reports of like elderly, frail people on the 15th floor who are kind of trapped because they can't get up and down?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I can certainly answer that. I think our fire services and our paramedic services continue to help support those types of situations. It requires a lot more work, obviously. We're doing wellness checks. We're trying to identify. We're also working with building owners to make sure that they're aware of their requirements to have their facilities working properly based on the situation they currently face. So we've identified some of the buildings, and we do daily wellness checks to ensure that the people are fine in there. And if they're not, we assist in helping them out and getting the help that they need. I can also ask Chief Hutt to comment on that if he has anything additional to add.
Thanks, General Manager. Just to note, on the onset of the storm, fire services, paramedics, and police first responders did receive a number of calls for people that were trapped in elevators as a result of power outages. And we have a very robust training and practice of rescuing people when they're in trapped elevators at the onset of the storm. But to General Manager Ayotte's points, once elevators have been deactivated and there's not access, we are doing ongoing wellness checks to make sure that we are checking on residents. And I think to the Mayor's point, if anybody knows that somebody needs assistance, that's where neighbors can help each other out as well. So we're all there to help during these times.
I just mentioned, I spoke with Mathieu Fleury, who's the chair of Ottawa Community Housing, asking him about elevator situation in OCH buildings. And he tells me, as of yesterday, the elevators were running. Those that lost power had backup generation capacity. So he didn't believe there were any OCH properties that had elevator issues as a result of having the backup generator. So I don't know if that's changed today, but it certainly was the case the informed me yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Nous allons maintenant passer à Emmanuel Poisson à Radio-Canada. Emmanuel, êtes-vous sur la ligne? Okay, we will go to Charlie Sanak at Barhaven Independent.
Good afternoon. My first question is about cleanup efforts. Anybody who has seen pictures of, say, Maryville Road or even Woodruff for that matter, know that there are probably a couple dozen hydro poles down, wires are tangled and so on. It's going to obviously take a little bit of time and effort to clean it up. I've seen a lot of talk on social media of people surprised that it's still, it hasn't really been touched a few days into this storm. So I'm wondering if anybody has any sort of an idea as to when these two major roadways might reopen for vehicle traffic, and also for people who live in the Maryville area. I know many people are concerned that maybe they will be among some of the last people to get power because of how widespread and severe the damage was there.
I think we all appreciate the value of social media at a time like this, but we actually have contractors and crews on site at both those areas right now. They've been blitzing that road today. Our hope is they'll get it restored quickly, but as you can appreciate, there's a tremendous amount of damage to both those roads, and it'll just take some time, but they are there now.
And so then do we have any sort of ideas as to when the roadways might possibly reopen for vehicle traffic again?
As I said, it's a very complicated, complex situation. I'm certainly not going to give you a timeline other than what I said earlier, which was 2 to 4 days.
Thank you very much. Have I missed any media outlets? Est-ce que j'ai manqué des médias?
I didn't get my follow-up question, but I did have one more.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Kelly.
It's okay. I would like, if I could ask the hydro guys, in the pictures from the tornado and also from this particular storm, you see a lot of wooden poles that are like snapped. Sorry, it might sound like a stupid question, but is there any other type of pole that can be used that is a bit more robust so that we're not all sitting here 2 years from now because 200 more poles have broken? I just wondered if we're just making this, you know what I mean? Like, is there something better we could be doing?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Kelly, and it's amazing how many electrical engineers come out of the woodwork during crises like this. But if you drive down Hawthorne Avenue, you'll see a whole series of composite poles, which are expected, they should be much sturdier. And you'll drive to a certain point on Hawthorne and the road will close because those composite poles have fallen over. So we don't really know what the hell hit us in terms of what they're describing it from a weather perspective, but whatever it was, it took down composite poles that are 65 feet tall. So yeah, it's easy to pick on the wood poles, but those composite poles are pretty expensive and they're supposed to be pretty robust. If you look in the Hydro One service territory, you'll see massive high voltage towers that came down. And again, those are meant to withstand ice loading and massive winds, and they collapsed like children's toys. So yeah, I would love to tell you I've got a perfect plan so this never happens again. I've read a lot on the social media about why don't we just bury the infrastructure. Councillor Eli's not on the phone, not on this, but Trend Arlington was all buried infrastructure and it took the worst of the tornado. So burying the infrastructure is not necessarily the answer. Buying more expensive poles is not necessarily the right answer. I wish I had the right answer. I wouldn't have to be working. So
great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. If there's no other media outlets, this concludes today's media availability. Ceci conclut notre point de presse pour aujourd'hui. Thank you everyone for attending today. Merci à tous d'être parmi nous. Have a great day.
Thank you.